December 28th was a very important date for me in the year 1922. That's when I was born, on the west side of Manhattan, on 98th Street and West End Avenue. I'm sorry I can't remember any more about my birth. But
I'm Stan Lee. I've been writing stories for the young generation for the past 30 years, and in the course of that time, well, I would imagine I receive about 200 to 300 fan letters every day, probably as much as the Beatles. I spend most of my time reading the mail and quite a lot of time answering it. During this time, I think I've learned a lot about what young people think. More importantly, I think I've learned a lot about what young people are. Today, we've come to a time in history when there definitely is a generation gap. It seems to us that perhaps anything that can be done to bridge this gap, anything that can be done to help present the point of view of these young people without being patronizing, without hostility, with respect, with attention, would be a very beneficial thing. We think that a voice is needed. Oh, sure, they talk a lot, and they yell a lot, and they demand a lot, but so often nobody really listens to them. We're going to try to present a voice that somebody will listen to. The voice is needed. We hope it will be ours.
Stan Lee, the publisher of Marvel Comics, has probably been in the comic book business longer than anybody on Earth. He claims that Guinness is going to put him in the book of records, but that's not really true, is it?
Well, they very well might. You know, as I had mentioned earlier, I think that I've probably written more stories that have been published than anybody who's ever lived. Not necessarily better stories, but certainly more stories. Because for about 30 years, I never wrote less than 2 complete magazines a week. Some weeks I wrote 5 and 6. And just in sheer quantity, I must have been crazy, but for all those years I was grinding it out.
Were you doing artwork as well as the storyline?
Just the stories, just the scripts.
It says in the material that I have that you did more than just write comic books.
Oh, I was of the comic books, I was the editor and the art director also, but I also wrote radio shows, and I did television writing and screenplay writing. You know, I've done everything. As a matter of fact, the first writing job I ever had before I got into comics I thought was the funniest. I was hired as a teenager. I was hired by a news service to write obituaries of people who were still alive, of celebrities, so that when they would die, the obituary is all ready to be printed. And after a while I quit because it got so depressing writing about living people in the past tense, you know. Then I got a job writing publicity for a hospital, and I never quite knew what I was supposed to be achieving, whether I was supposed to be trying to convince people that if they got sick, this hospital was a better one to go to than another hospital, or what. I gave that job up. Actually, I had started as an actor. I thought I wanted to be an actor. And in those days, there was just no money in acting, not in little local theaters where I was.
You're talking about the 30s now.
Yeah. So I heard of a job open at a comic book publisher. And I figured, well, I think it paid the exorbitant fee of, I don't know, $9 or $10 a week, which was a lot of money to me then. And I took the job, thinking it would be a temporary job, and I've been there ever since.
a funny thing. My wife and I are really so close. And yet I'm not sure if she's ever read a story I wrote. She's totally not into comics at all. And she loves things like decorating. And she's the perfect wife for me because I spend so much time writing when I'm home. I imagine another woman would be saying things like, how come we never go anywhere, and why don't we take vacations, and you never take me anywhere? But Joni, her house is her toy. She plays with the house. She could spend all her time rearranging the furniture and rearranging the paintings on the wall and getting new little bits of furniture and fixing things up. She can always keep herself busy, which is wonderful for me, so I don't feel guilty when I'm in my room writing. In fact, it's funny, people, when they ask what we do with ourselves, I mention that the one time I really get together with Joni is at dinner time because we have our dinner theater. And they say, what do you mean you've got a dinner theater? And I say, well, we have a little TV in the kitchen where we eat dinner. And while we sit and have dinner, we turn the TV on and we watch a movie or whatever it is. And that is really, to me, one of the nicest parts of the day. Because we argue a lot about she'll want to watch one thing, I'll want to watch another thing, but we eventually work it out. We had another daughter who unfortunately died shortly after birth. And because of that, I guess, we've thrown all our love just into Joni. Joan wasn't able to have any more.
I wished she'd had a sister or brother because I think you needed to share. I think you needed to be able to share the love of a parent and be able to not be fearful when they die, but that's another story.
Hi, I'm Stan Lee, and I'd like to introduce my greatest creation, my super kid, J.C. Lee. Good luck, J.C. Excelsior.
Thank you, Daddy, from your super kids.
Joan is our only baby. She is a super kid. She really is a super kid from Stan Lee and Joan Bocock Lee, theatrical crazies. How she remains sane as she is, I'll never know, because she had a wacko, wonderful, exciting life, but it was all about love.
all these years, to have something like that, it's really very pleasant. I just wish to hell my wife had been with me, but aside from that, it was a great day, and I'm very grateful for all the nice things that were said. I've been the luckiest man in the world because I've had friends, and to have the right friends is everything. People you can depend on, people who tell you the truth if you ask for something. I'm lucky to have a wonderful wife. And
when I get a cat, can I name it after you?
Name it after you.
well, only if I get paid some sort of a commission.
Yes!
You can name him after me.
Do you think you'll be showing up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. soon?
Will I be what?
Showing up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. soon?
I better, or they'll hear from me.
Oh,
You know,
really?
S.H.I.E.L.D., they changed that. When I created S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yep.
S.H.I.E.L.D. stood for Secret Headquarters International Espionage Division. And they changed it to something
To
totally
some Homeland,
different.
whatever
Do you know a
thing.
lawyer?
It shouldn't even be a contest. I mean, Iron Man was the first movie, the first character to come out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You know, Cap was the first character to ever be on screen for Marvel.
That is a flat-out lie.
Ever.
We could just ask the next schmuck who walks through, hey, sir, hi. Hey, we're gonna put this all on you. Is it Team Iron Man or Team Cap?
I really don't care. As long as I get a good cameo. Call my agent. Talk about compact cars. Oh, geez, all my coupons were in there. Thank God it's a rental. Talk about diminishing returns. Oh, man. Everything is shrinking on me. Damn, should have paid those parking tickets. Well, at least now I'll be able to park in San Francisco. Well, looks like I'm walking. My sandwich was in there. Oh, man, I just stole this car. Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it. A number of people have been worried about my left hand, and I really appreciate their concern because they noticed that I wasn't using it in a normal way. It was injured. This hand is now fine. I've no problem with it at all. But strangely enough, there seems to be something going along with this hand. I'll figure it out, but it's very mysterious, really. Michael Jackson, I've met him a few times. First time I met him, he wanted to talk to me, so he called me, and I said, sure, I'll come. He wanted to be Spider-Man, to buy the rights to Spider-Man. I think he wanted to play the part of Peter Parker. He never said that, but I gathered that. When I told him I didn't think the company would sell it, he then wanted to buy Marvel. He said, well, then I'll buy Marvel. I don't know what happened. I mean, obviously he didn't buy Marvel, but he wanted to very much. He came to my house once, about 2 years later, and he wanted to talk to me about something, and he brought his little son with him. He was a very concerned parent. He had a little bottle with him, and he had all the things for the kid. And he really seemed, from what I knew of him, he was a hell of a nice guy. There was something tragic about him. Once he asked me to meet him at a hotel, and there was a huge room, must have been the biggest room in the hotel that he had rented. No furniture, nothing, just him in the center of the room and a mirror on a wall, and he had been practicing some sort of a dance. But there was something so lonely looking about it. My last glimpse of him was him just standing there in that empty room. I don't know why. I felt it was very sad. Marvel's a great word, and also there's so much you could do with it. You could make up slogans and mottos. So I decided I would treat Marvel like a big advertising campaign. And I made up slogans like, make mine Marvel, Marvel marches on, welcome to the Marvel age of comics, things like that. And I came up with a lot of catchphrases. I would sign all the things I wrote with "Nuff said" or "Hang loose" or "Face front." But I noticed that the competition was starting to use those expressions too. So I figured I've got to get something that they won't copy. And I tried to think of something, A, they wouldn't know how to spell, and B, they wouldn't know what it means. And that's why I came up with the word Excelsior. Excelsior! 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 Hi to all the Excelsior customers, and I am so happy I have an Excelsior t-shirt. I can't wait to go home and put it on. Excelsior! Excelsior! Came up with Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior! Oh! Someday I'll find out what that means. Excelsior! 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 Yes! Excelsior. 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 And I thought of the word Excelsior because I figured nobody would know what it means and nobody would know how to spell it. Now, it's a word that's on the Great Seal of the state of New York, Excelsior. And it's also an old Irish and English saying which means upward and onward to greater glory. Now, how can you have anything better than that? So from now on, it's Excelsior. 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 Excelsior.
Hey, Stan Lee! I'm back. I don't care if it's a DC movie. I love cameos.
Not now, Stan Lee!
Excelsior.
Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. Excelsior. I bestow upon you the right to say Excelsior whenever and wherever you wish, because that's the kind of guy I am.
Can we do one right now? Can we
You
do
want
a
an
joint
Excelsior?
Excelsior at the count of three?
Together? Here we go. One,
two,
three.
Excelsior!
And you did it right. You emphasized the cell. Excelsior! 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 Excelsior!
Breaking news in the world of Hollywood. An American icon, comic books, has passed away. Marvel Comics co-creator Stan Lee, the brains behind Spider-Man, Black Panther, the Fantastic Four, has died. He was 95.
Legendary Marvel Comics co-creator and publisher Stan Lee has died.
Marvel Comics creator Stan Lee has died.
We just broke a sad story on our website. Stan Lee, the creative force behind Marvel Comics and so many iconic characters, has died.
Marvel Comics legend Stan Lee has died.
I say Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, or Black Panther. Chances are you'll know who I'm talking about. Well, now the Marvel Universe is saying goodbye to its creator, writer, editor, and publisher, Stan Lee, who's died at the age of 95.
Stan Lee died today. And I never met Stan Lee, so you might be wondering, why I'm even choked up about Stan Lee passing. I've never met the man. Because it reminds me of just a lot of things in my life. The earliest I can remember, I really loved, superheroes. You can hear people now, you're crying over a superhero. That's not it. It's that my father taught me, just to be who I am and not try to be somebody, I'm not. So with him playing football, everybody expected me to go play football. That wasn't my passion. Some of my passions have always been in the entertainment space, especially video games, comic books, and superheroes. And then, lo and behold, when I moved to America and I started teaching, it's Mr. White's Wonder Kids, and it's based off superheroes. And that couldn't have started, and I remember even, my dad's been passed away for almost 14 years, and me and him used to watch superhero stuff together. So when I heard Stan Lee pass today, it's not like I know him, and there's been a lot of people who passed that you never meet. People try to act like celebrities. It's a huge deal. You never met them. But it's still, this one kind of hits me a little harder because I'm thinking about my dad.
It's a cold and rainy day today, and I've been doing some stuff around the house, and my wife just came down the stairs and she said, I just got breaking news that Stan Lee passed away. And I was like, Stan Lee who? And it took a second for me to register what she was telling me. And then it just kind of a numbness set in, because here's the thing. I don't know Stan Lee. I never met Stan Lee. I never had the pleasure of meeting Stan Lee. I never saw him at a convention or anything like that. But I'm just so profoundly sad by this news. He was 95 years old. It's not a tragic death. All death is tragic, but it's not unexpected. It's not, when his wife passed away not too long ago, I told my wife that it will probably not be very long before Stan follows her, because that seems to be how it goes. When two people are in love and one of them leaves this earth, the other one is usually not too far behind. And so I was kind of prepared for it and braced for it, and I would... When I would think of Stan Lee, I would just, kind of think like, well, good for you, Stan Lee. He was still working. He was still making Marvel movie cameos. And then now we have this news, and I just feel, I don't know, there's no words to describe it. I just feel very sad.
So as most of you know, at this particular point in time, we lost Stan Lee today. Stan Lee is the legend of the comic book industry. The world is a better place because Stan Lee existed in it. Our lives are better because Stan Lee existed. That is the truth. Everyone's life is better. He impacted all of us. He impacted us in different ways, and we all have different stories. We all have different things that we can talk about that Stan Lee had an impact on. Even younger audiences have come to know Stan Lee through his cameos with the MCU, but they don't really know how important he really is. But he is a titan in this world, and not just a comic book world. He is a titan in this world.
Stan Lee was an incredible and extraordinary individual. That should go without saying. I'm pretty sure we all were well aware of that already. He was a brilliant creative mind who helped to create some of the most iconic, beloved, and respected superhero characters ever to grace the comic pages and the silver screen. Spider-Man, X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Black Panther, Ant-Man, the list goes on. Many of these characters might never have existed if Stan Lee did not work with some incredible artists to bring them to life. And although he did not create this character, he did help to bring back to life and revive my favorite superhero character of all time, Captain America. A deed that I truly admired and respected, because the world would be such a dimmer place for me personally if he did not bring back Captain America and make him the leader of the Avengers.
This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism. Those stories have room for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or color of their skin. The only things we don't have room for are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportionate strength of a spider. We're all part of one big family, the human family, and we all come together in the body of Marvel. And you're part of that family. You're part of the Marvel universe that moves ever upward and onward to greater glory. In other words, Excelsior. I think you never outgrow your love of these stories of giants and ogres and witches and all of that. Superhero comics give you that.